Are you ready to take control of your own health? Do you want to create a plan that will improve your health and vitality without the use of synthetic drugs or needless surgery? Hi, this is Dr. Tom Roselle. I would like to invite you to join me and the Roselle Center for Healing for an information, fun-filled day that will change the state of your health and quality of life. Ageless Health 2011 will provide you with the resources to begin your journey towards being stronger, having greater physical performance, and living longer without impairment, pain, or disease. Ageless Health is about realizing that your health is a do-it-yourself program. You can have it all. Ageless Health 2011 is your first step towards creating and enhancing your natural health plan. Register today to reserve your seat.
Ageless Health 2011 is September 17th at the Fairview Park Marriott. Learn more at rosellcare.com. Register before June 20th and receive 15% off seating. Call 703-698-7117. 703-698-7117.
Dr. Tom Roselle live right now, 630 WMAL.
Welcome to Dr. Tom Roselle Live. I am live in studio on this absolutely fantastic, to all of you, Happy Father's Day Sunday. Give me a call, 888-630-9625. That's 888-630-WMAL. Love to talk to you about anything you have in mind. Perhaps you've had a problem. You've tried, you've applied. Maybe I can put you in a different direction, and we can talk about something that actually works for change, and you can get your life and your health back. But nevertheless, this is your platform to ask any question that you'd like to know about in the world of natural therapy, from chiropractic to acupuncture, nutrition, and so forth, and how they work together as a team, but more importantly, how to get you back to where you need to be. Have a couple interesting topics that we're going to discuss today. One is a little-known nutrient that's a phenomenal protector in the body. This helps fight toxicity within the body. It prevents premature aging, and it also has a tremendous effect warding off chronic disease patterns. And then we're going to talk about a longevity booster that I think that you're going to find that is very common and you can get, and no matter what your age is, you can apply. It's been used for years by athletes because they know the power and the impact that this has in the body. But you also need to know about it because at different ages we have different needs. But nevertheless, we're here to talk about your situations at 888-630-9625. I want to talk to you about something that can change your life, something that can make a huge difference, a huge impact on what's coming down the line for you, whether it's a year from now or 30 or 40 years from now or 10 years from now. It doesn't make any difference. Every year in September, the Roselle Center for Healing does something that we started out as a venue for our patients in-house to get more information, to have an opportunity to apply very specific applications of processes, if you will, to maximize their longevity, their health, and so forth. And what we did after it was such a success for a couple of years, we extended it to you, to all of you. Some of you who have never seen us, some of you have only heard us on the radio. But Ageless Health 2011 is the 13th year that we have done our keynote event. It's coming up September the 17th. It's a Saturday, and it's an all-day event. It's something that we're very proud of. My entire staff will be there to assist you, to aid you, to present to you. This is truly, absolutely a day that can change everything about your health if you take the information that we give you and apply it appropriately, and we're there to help you. Ageless Health is about taking charge of your own health. It's about realizing that you have control, nobody else does, and it will challenge you. We will put you at a place where we'll say, look, this is what's possible. I'll teach you how to truly be in control of everything that happens in your health, the destiny that you want to create relative to your wellness, where you want you and your family and the people that you love to be as time goes on. And consider this. Where would you be today if you had taken control of your life years ago? Where would you be today if you knew that you could change anything a long time ago and actually did it? What have you given up because of it? Well, here's an opportunity. The good news is that you can change anything. You can change it immediately. And here's an opportunity, September the 17th, to change it for a lifetime. All I want you to do is either go to our website at rosellcare.com, ROSELLECARE.com, or call my office at 703-698-7117. Now, here's the deal. You have to register before midnight tomorrow, the 20th, Monday, and you can save 15% off the entire day. And it's inexpensive to begin with. It's only $99, and that includes your lunch, an organic lunch. That includes breakout sessions. You'll have all the information to take home with you. You can't beat this. Not only that, but the wealth of information that you're going to get is worth thousands and thousands of dollars. And speaking of thousands of dollars, everyone who attends will be entered for a drawing for $1,000 worth of health care, integrative health care. I mean, over the years, people have said that this is the most amazing production that they've ever been to, that they could listen forever, that, our staff is totally dedicated to them. I mean, go to this event. You can't afford not to be there. Go to our website, rosellecare.com, or call 703-698-7117. Tell my staff that you would like to attend and register by tomorrow and save 15% off the price that it's already very inexpensive. Let's talk about a very little-known nutrient, something that is easily taken care of, and actually one that is actually produced in your body, but most of us mess things up. We pollute ourselves. We have too much toxin that goes into our body, and subsequently, we suffer the slings and arrows of our body breaking down. It's called glutathione. You actually make it, but most of you can't make it anymore because your body is just a mess already, and you're not putting the things in that you need to have. You need to have more of all these things that come about. But let's talk about it. Glutathione is likely to get more attention as time goes on, simply because of its effect in the body. The way that it breaks down toxicity, the way that it helps the liver work in the different phases of filtration. Glutathione neutralizes free radicals in the body. It enhances the immune system, and it detoxifies the liver. Those are the three things that you have to think about when you think about glutathione. And, because we live in this area, we're constantly being bombarded by all kinds of things. Our foods aren't good. It robs, all of this stuff robs the body of vital nutrients that we have to have, because it clogs up the liver pathway, so the body doesn't have any way of handling those things. But naturally, and here's the other piece, unfortunately, even if we did everything right, our glutathione level starts dropping at around age 45, 47, 50 years old, and we don't handle the stresses of our environment the way that we should. And so subsequently, they can drop down as much as 50%. So that means that you either have to increase the patterns of where you're getting the foods to trigger it, or, you have to supplement it. So research out there is showing that glutathione, this free radical scavenger, is when it's not sufficient, it may be one of the predispositions to things like Alzheimer's disease and cancer and heart disease. And there's been tons of articles. There was one that was recently published in the New England Journal of Medicine. It goes back not too long ago, probably several months, and that it said that people with heart disease, those with the least amount of glutathione in their blood, were 30% more likely to have a heart attack than those that had higher levels of glutathione. And that's the reason for that is because of its effect on free radical formation in the system. If you can drop down the free radicals, the inflammatory levels aren't high, the acidity level's not high, so subsequently you're not going to plaque as much. If you roll it back and you start looking at glutathione deficiencies and when they were actually being reported, going back into the early 90s, mid-90s, there were tons of articles that were being published on people who had muscle pain and brain fog and exhaustion and so forth. And they went from, feeling really healthy one day to feeling really sick the next, almost overnight. And what they found, and what we found over time, is that it has to do with glutathione not being sufficient in the body. The other thing that takes place is that we're being exposed to high levels of mercury, toxic mercury exposure from things that we breathe, things that we eat, particularly the fish. I love swordfish and I love tuna fish, and I don't eat it anymore because of the high levels of mercury. You go into your dentist, those silver fillings are 50% mercury. You get an inoculation, whether it's a flu shot or anything else, it's loaded with mercury. And so you're getting all this stuff in, but glutathione works specifically to take the stuff out. And so when you know that, and you know that the body begins to shut down the production of glutathione because the stress is environmental, no wonder we have so many of these things that are starting to affect us. It's not very okay. So the issue is that what happens really in the body, what can we do about it, and ultimately can we add supplements, so forth and so on. We're also going to talk about it being a brain buffer for things not getting into this, in the brain and causing damage. Give me a call at 888-630-9625. That's 888-630-WMAL. Love to talk about any subject besides glutathione, another one that I have coming up. So we said that glutathione is a free radical fighter. All right? Well, so some free radical damage is the natural byproduct of the body's cellular process. This happens. I mean, we go through destruction and repair all the time. However, our bodies are made more vulnerable to increasing amounts of free radical damage due to everything that's around us. You know, the sun and pollution and poor nutrition, the garbage that we put in our body, the stresses because we don't know how to handle them. You know, when I sit down with a patient and I said, there's only 3 things that cause anything, either injury to the body, or biochemical toxicity, and anything goes from the outside inside your body, including electromagnetic waves, and emotional stress. Well, that's what we're talking about with stress patterns, chronic stress. So here a lot of people, when they talk about toxic buildups in the body, they talk about how to get rid of them, and without really understanding the process. Glutathione is one of those things. Matter of fact, it's been coined the mother of all antioxidants. Well, yeah, maybe, but the truth of it is it's extremely powerful, and it does a lot of good in the system. So what we have to do is we have to understand how glutathione protects the cell, and specifically the mitochondria, the little engines, and it protects it from the bacteria, the viruses, the neurotoxins that get in the system. And once we understand the amazing capacity that glutathione has, we begin to understand why we get sick when we do certain things that begin to break our body down. It's important that we understand that type of situation. So if you look at glutathione and realize that the greatest majority for detoxification is concentrated in the liver, the body's primary detoxifying organ. Now, you detoxify through your liver and your colon, your kidneys and your skin and all that. But even good food, if you didn't have a liver, you would die from anything that you put in your body, even the best organic anything. Now, what glutathione does, it grabs a hold of toxins in the liver. Now, obviously, I'm metaphorically representing this to you. And it takes them out of the body along with waste products. So if you have too little glutathione or your body's not producing enough glutathione, toxins can accumulate in the body and contribute to high levels of inflammation, subsequently inflammatory types of diseases that are associated with that high level. You beginning to get the picture here? It is important that we detoxify because the majority of the problems that we have is a result of damage, inflammatory damage that takes place. So we're going to talk about that and how it really clears things up a bit, and some of the things that you can eat, you can put in your body to make a huge difference in the elimination detoxification process. I'm here at 888-630-9625. That's 888-630-WMAL. Love to talk to you on any subject that you have in mind.
Dr. Tom Roselle Live continues now on 630 WMAL.
Welcome back. This is Dr. Tom Roselle. You're listening to Dr. Tom Roselle Live. I'm here at 888-630-9625. That's 888-630-WMAL. Love to talk to you on anything you'd like to know about. Happy Father's Day to all of you. It is a beautiful, beautiful day. I sit there and I realize that I've got 2 great kids, 4 beautiful grandchildren, a godson, and I'm a very lucky human being. I must have done something right along the path. So I wish the same to all of you who are fathers, are going to be fathers, or thinking about becoming fathers. It's a great thing. And by the way, thank you, mothers, because without you, we wouldn't be fathers. 888-630-9625. We're talking about glutathione and another very important nutrient that will boost longevity. We'll talk about in the second half, so don't go away. Glutathione is one of those things that your body stops producing as much of as we get older, and we know that you have to have it if you want to protect yourself from free radical damage. We also have to have it if the liver is going to work properly to detoxify things. So the bottom line is how do we get up to the daily intake of 250 milligrams in our body as we need it, and maybe a little bit more as we get older, when the average American only produces about 35 milligrams a day? Not so hot, right? Well, you either got to get it supplementally or you have to get your body to produce it. Now, the problem with supplementation is if you have a bad intestinal tract, you can't absorb it and produce it. If your gut's inflamed, you got bad junk in it, then you really have a problem. So that means that either you're going to have to use creams, or you're going to have to do it intravenous, or you're going to have to do it through your nose, or you're going to have to clean yourself up and see if your body will begin to do it that way. But there are other ways of producing and maximizing your glutathione production and activity. So I'm going to give you 4 ways. 1, eat lots of glutathione-rich foods. What's that? Oh, asparagus and spinach and avocados and squash and melons and grapefruit and peaches, things like that. Whenever possible, you have to eat these things raw or minimally heated, since when you heat things, particularly if you microwave anything, it destroys most of the antioxidants. So you got to eat this stuff raw. Eat more colorful antioxidant-packed foods, strawberries and bell peppers and mangoes, things that are really, really high in vitamin C. The more antioxidants you get, the better it's going to be for you. Again, we need to kick in the production of this stuff. Cysteine types foods, that's sulfur-rich containing foods like eggs and garlic and whey proteins. And yeah, eggs. Eggs are really good for you. Don't buy into the garbage. Most of you can get away with about 6, 7 eggs a week, 8 eggs a week, as long as they're organic and the rest of your diet's got a lot of good stuff in. And I'll fight anybody who wants to talk about that, because they do produce an excellent pathway in the body. You got to limit your exposure to toxins. You got to quit buying junk food. You have to eat organic food, filter your water. All those things are necessary. If you don't do that, you're in trouble. So what's the next best thing that you can do? You need glutathione precursors, things that will kick in the ultimate production, things like NAC or N-acetylcysteine, alpha-lipoic acid, selenium, vitamin C. If you get those things in high enough levels and you take the stress off the body and you detoxify your system periodically and take the junk out, you might actually get to a place where your body will like you again and begin to help drop things. What happens when you detoxify? What happens when you get free radical damage down? Things like heart disease drops dramatically, blood pressure problems start going away, cholesterol levels drop exponentially. I mean, this is why those things happen in our system. You have control. And by the way, when you come to Ageless Health, our seminar in September the 17th, and you got to call by, remember, tomorrow night to receive 15% off, we're going to teach you this stuff. We're going to teach you how to apply it to you. It's incredibly important that you take control of your wellness and that you do the things that are necessary and not to be dependent on any physician, any drug pusher, anything like that, because it's really all within your hands. You can shift anything at any minute. Go to RoselleCare.com, RoselleCare.com, or call us at 703-698-7117, and we'll be glad to register for that. Remember, tomorrow night, the 20th, to receive 15% off your registration. It's a day you really can't afford to miss. To miss it means that you really don't care and you don't want to take control. You want somebody else to do it to you instead of you doing it to yourself. Glutathione, one of those things that we all have to detoxify the liver. I want to remind you that Thermography Centers of Fairfax is an ongoing sponsor of Dr. Tom Roselle Live. If you'd like more information on thermographic imaging and how it can begin to show the initial signs of many different types of inflammatory diseases, call Dareth Painter at 703-943-7248. That's 703-943-7248, and she'll be more than happy to give you data and information on why you should add thermographic imaging as part of your annual ongoing examination and physical checkup.
Dr. Tom Roselle Live continues now on 630 WMAL.
Welcome back. This is Dr. Tom Roselle. You're listening to Dr. Tom Roselle Live. I am in studio at 888-630-9625. That's 888-630-WMAL. Love to talk to you. on any subject that you have on your mind. I've got a couple that we're talking about, but our phone lines are lighting up, and I'd like to go there too. Sarah, thank you for calling. How can I help you?
Yes. I wonder if you would first, before I ask my question, tell me how to spell myothioine.
How to spell what?
You were talking about maybe to get rid of toxins.
Glutathione.
How do you spell that, please?
Glutathione.
Okay, thank you. Now, I'm confused because I've been diagnosed with osteopenia of the left hip, and my blood reports were all above normal as far as vitamin D and calcium. All right, and I went to an orthopedic doctor, and he sent me to an endocrinologist.
Okay.
All right. For years, I had been taking Physamox, but on my own, after reading, some of the comments in the newspapers, I stopped taking it.
Okay, so...
All right.
All right.
But he has told me to take the Octanol. Another doctor told me Prolaria, and it's getting very confusing as to what to do.
I can imagine. Let me ask you a couple questions. How old are you?
82.
How long were you taking the Physamox?
Oh, gosh. I have to take a guess. Years and years. I don't know.
Okay.
I could say about 8-10 years.
Okay. The problem is that Physamox and those types of drugs cause osteonecrosis. They actually cause a breakdown in the bone itself. It's a very commonly used drug to treat all kinds of bone disease, including osteopenia, osteoporosis, Paget's disease, and so forth. But it's in a group of medications. They're called bisphosphonate drugs, and they've been linked to a number of side effects. None of them are good. Some of the more easily eliminated are nausea and cramping and bloating and diarrhea and so forth. But the more serious ones are that it destroys the bone, and it can also predispose you to liver cancer and some other not so nice things. Now, having said that, because you were on it so long, it's going to be much more difficult for your body to put calcium back into the bone, because the bone has, in some situations, been destroyed. And see, it actually these drugs, these bisphosphonates, actually increase your risk of fracture. They don't help it. And it doesn't make any difference of any of the drugs that you just mentioned. They all do approximately the same type of thing, and they really don't work. So, do you remember, another question is, what was your vitamin D level, your vitamin D3 level?
Yes, 85.
Okay, so that's actually a very good level, and that's probably protecting you at this point from getting worse. Now, it's not the amount of calcium that you have in your body, it's the ability of the calcium to transport into the tissue. If your hydrochloric acid level, the acid that your stomach naturally produces, is low level, then you can't absorb calcium, you can't break down proteins and absorb proteins, you have a difficult time with vitamin B12 and so forth. So that's one of the things that has to be checked. You have to see, you have to deal with somebody who really understands that process. If the intestinal tract isn't working the way it's supposed to, those things don't get in the system. But here what we're dealing with is, when you take a blood test, you're dealing with the available nutrients that are actually in the blood, but it doesn't tell you anything about what's transporting from the blood into the tissue. So if there's a resistance that is being incurred by inflammation within the blood, you can't get it in. You can't transport it, no matter how much good stuff you have. So you can have boron and D and selenium and calcium and magnesium and all the things that are necessary for bone metabolism, but if they can't get into the system because of inflammatory response, not enough hydrochloric acid, or if the bone isn't receptive because of the previous history of the drugs that you've been on, now you got a problem. So if you're doing those things, if your diet's really clean, you're taking digestive enzymes, and you're exercising, and that's one of the missing keys for so many of us, is that weight-resistant exercise is absolutely necessary. You have to put stress into the bone to have the bone demand to absorb the calcium and things like that.
And that's something I don't do, is exercise, other than going up and down the steps in my house all day.
Well, that's a good thing, and that's going to keep you agile, but you really need to add that other component in it. You really need to get into the gym or have somebody train you at home, and periodically come in, get a personal trainer, have them set you up in a routine, do those things at home, and do it incrementally. You start slowly, but continue to add it a little bit at a time. the tone of your voice, I can't see you, but I can tell by the tone of your voice that you've got some strong energy to you. You've got some strong constitution. So,
I do, as a matter of fact.
So take that and add the exercise, and
yes.
That all by itself is going to be a huge shift for you. But you also need to have somebody check, the rest of the metabolic pathways. If we can help you, Sarah, I'd love to do that for you. Give us a call.
Right.
But that's where you start.
Okay. Thank you so very much.
Sarah, you're welcome. Thank you for calling. I appreciate it. 888-630-9625. That's 888-630-WMAL. Love to talk to you on any subject you have in mind. Promise you we're going to talk about another very interesting thing, something that all of us need to have a whole lot of, and we should get them from our foods, but sometimes it doesn't have. But like I said, athletes sometimes are way ahead of the curve when it comes to the proper types of nutrition. So clinical journals out there have talked about cell metabolism, and what it reveals is that branched-chain amino acids, or what we call BCAAs, have the power to do a lot of things, and one of them is to increase lifespan. And why it does that is because it gets in and works with the energy packs, the mitochondria, that are in every cell in our body, but also they're also in the heart cells. So for years, fitness enthusiasts, weightlifters, and so forth have used branched-chain amino acids to boost muscle strength and performance, and they really work. They do a very, very good job. Now, if you sit on your duff and you're not going to do anything, then not so much, right? But here's the deal. There's a lot of study out there that begins to show that as we get older, our protein levels, our amino acid availability in our body isn't what it used to be. It's not what it was when we were a kid. We don't eat like we used to, and some of us never ate really good to begin with. And, our bodies start breaking down to the place where we don't have control over it. So how do we stem the tide? How do we turn things around? I was reading a very interesting article the other day, actually in a magazine many of you get, Life Extensions magazine. And that, in conjunction with a project that I was doing with a couple other people, triggered me to something that I knew about, but I wasn't really sure. And our last caller, Sarah, this is something that you ought to think about too. With branched-chain amino acids, it helps the skeletal and cardiac muscles of the body strengthen. So when you do weight-resisted exercise, it helps begin to cause more of a demand within the bone metabolism. That may begin to take that other piece instead of allowing you to continue to progress from osteopenia. And by the way, at 85 years old, if you're just at an osteopenic stage, you've done some really good things. And from what you've told me, you're above the cut on so many other things. Unfortunately, the allopathic community has sold all of us a bill of goods, and you've been at the end product of that. The branched-chain amino acids have shown dramatic increase in laboratory settings with animal lifespans, into some situations up to 12 to 15% increase. Well, what does that mean for us? Well, we have a longevity of 80 years, 78 years, and we can increase that by another 10% or even a little bit more than that. Well, hey, that's pretty decent. But it's density of mass, it's longevity of mass, it's the energetics of mass, it's all of those things that we want as time goes on, but aren't sure how to get it. If you look at some of the greatest athletes around, their dietary patterns and their nutritional supports are all geared to dramatically increasing the availability, if you will, of branch-chain amino acids. And it really is something that can reverse so many things, including fat storage, obesity, metabolic syndrome, which you've heard me talk about so many times, is when cholesterol starts going up and blood sugars start going up and blood pressure starts going up. Liver disease, we just got done talking about a little bit of that with glutathione, but this is also important. And the breakdown of tissue in any kind of chronic debilitating disease, even the end products of cancer, and also muscle pain and soreness. When amino acids aren't available to get into metabolism, one of the things that we're going to end up with is pain. Let's go to the phones. Frank, thank you for calling. How can I help you, sir?
Absolutely. Thank you for taking a question from me.
No problem.
I've got a question concerning statin drugs.
Yes, sir.
A book out talks about the statin con. I think that's the title of it.
Okay.
And statins obviously will lower cholesterol, but do they really help prevent heart disease, heart attack, stroke, etc.? That's a question that's brought up in this book, that they might not really be all effective in that.
They're not.
In lowering that.
They're actually not. And here's the deal with the statins, and very interesting articles that have been published. I'm going to summarize one of them for you, and it basically is this. If you take 100 men in a study group and you treat all of them with statins, you have to treat them for 5 years to prevent one heart attack. And that's the conclusion of many studies that have been done. Whether it's, Lipitor or whatever, you name the drug, they're all basically the same. Statins will lower cholesterol, and I'm not going to ever argue that point. They will drop the cholesterol, but the point of it is, it's not cholesterol that causes heart attack. It's inflammatory reaction. I've had patients who've had really normal cholesterol levels, and their doc said they're fine, and they end up with a heart attack. Well, why is that? It's because the inflammation in the body is acidic, and the body has to do something to prevent the acidity from burning through tissue. So it goes into a natural response mechanism, and what it does, it takes fat and puts it on like plaster. And the other thing, to try to neutralize the acid, it takes calcium from the bones. So now you've got not only fat, but you've got calcium, and that's called atherosclerotic plaquing. So it doesn't work. So the things that do work is decreasing the inflammatory response by watching the type of foods that you put in your body, making sure you're getting a modicum of aerobic exercise, doing some lightweight training, making sure that your diet is mostly alkaline, that you're not eating foods that are increasing the inflammatory response, preserved foods and so forth. My mantra, if you will, sugars, sodas, coffee, fast foods, fried foods, alcohol, gluten, additives, preservatives, and so forth. All those things will cause acidic shifts in the body. And the damage is, in the end piece, is heart disease and plaquing and atheral disease and so forth. So you can do things like niacin, which will help liver metabolism and increase circulation and open up the collateral circulation and also drop cholesterol. You can use the omega-3s, and there are different ones. Just don't buy cheap forms. Please don't go to Costco and buy their form, because most of it is, in our experience, is not worth buying. Don't buy it from a drugstore. Go to a health food store. There's a lot of good ones around. Ask them for organic, clean sources. Take some of that.
Like a GNC?
No, I wouldn't even go to GNC. I would go to Whole Foods, I would go to Wegmans, I would go to Healthways, I would go to Mom's, I would go to Trader Joe's. And then go to their people that run those places and say, I want organic, I want clean, and I want stuff that doesn't have a lot of additives to it. You're going to pay a little bit more for it, but you know what? It works better. Coenzyme Q10 works with the mitochondria throughout the whole body, but particularly with the heart. You want to make sure those levels are up. We talked about glutathione. Glutathione will help as well, but more importantly, your dietary patterns are more important. You have to make sure you have a clean gut, so your intestinal tract is not inflamed and irritated. But we've taken patients, just putting them on vitamin D3, niacin, the short chain fatty acids, and so forth, and all of a sudden their cholesterol's come way down. And if you did nothing more than get out and walk 2 miles every day, you'll decrease your risk of any type of disease by 50%.
All right,
Frank,
That's pretty good advice. Just to add on to that, is there any blood test that can measure a person's inflammatory response?
Absolutely. I'm going to give them to you real quick, then I got to take a break. Coronary C-reactive protein is in homocysteine, just a straight CBC, and you put those together, and you can come up with the direction that you need to go.
Dr. Tom Roselle Live continues now on 630 WMAL.
Welcome back. This is Dr. Tom Roselle. You're listening to Dr. Tom Roselle Live. Happy Father's Day, everybody. 888-630-9625. That's 888-630-WMAL. Talking about some very interesting subjects and some very interesting phone calls. Thank you. I appreciate that. Branched-chain amino acids. Interesting stuff. They can increase your energetics. They can increase your longevity. Truly. I mean, it's been proven in laboratory settings. But what we've seen in practice is that it can give people strength back in their bodies that perhaps weren't there. But, branched-chain amino acids are used today with calorie restriction, and I'm not all in on that. There's some stuff out there where people are taking human chorionic gonadotrophic hormone in injections. Well, it can increase your risk of other things like cancer, tumors, and so forth. There's you can use human chorionic gonadotrophic hormone homeopathics, and then it triggers your production of that, and that's a whole different subject, by the way. But the branched-chain amino acids are not metabolized by the liver, and they get into the bloodstream really, really quickly, where they're directly taken up by the muscle, and they go directly to the sites for muscle repair and energy building and so forth. It's really amazing stuff when you add it with other nutrients that you need. There's 3 branched-chain amino acid, leucine, isoleucine, valine. They're called essential nutrients, and what that means is that they can't be made by the body. You have to get them externally, and some of you are messing up majorly. Your dietary patterns aren't really great, so you have to make sure that these things are available to you. And the branched-chain amino acids also appear to bolster cellular defense mechanism in the body. It's one of those things that we need to consider. I always suggest and encourage my patients to make sure that they get this stuff from foods, and just don't go out to the health food store and start, loading your body up with very, very expensive things. Not good. Bruce, thank you for calling. How can I help you, sir?
Thanks for taking my call. The question I had was, when I take vitamin D and about 4,500 units, and I can move my, I guess the number to about 40. I'm not sure, but 40 units in the blood. But when I take more, my calcium goes up as well a little bit. Why would that happen? I should be concerned about it. It goes up like 1/10 of a point on the calcium.
Okay, 1/10 of a point or just a little bit of a shift in your calcium is not a problem. If your calcium level is well within the threshold availability within the bloodstream, you're okay. You don't want it at the high end of normal. You don't want it outside of normal. On the top end. So vitamin D levels, just as a reminder for all of us, the range is 0 to 100. Anything under 50 is considered insufficient. Anything under 32 is deficient. The target range for immune function, where you really want to have not just bone strength, but where you want a good immune support, is anywhere from 65 to 80, and that's your target. If anybody stays within that range consistently, your immune system stays strong, your prostate stays healthy, all kinds of things that are beneficial for you take place. Now, vitamin D3 is what you want to take, and depending on your level, if somebody's extremely deficient, I put them on 10,000, 12,000 units for anywhere up to 100 days until they get it, and that's on a daily basis until they get it down. But you have to be careful because some people can't metabolize it well, and you also have to keep an eye on calcium. If your calcium levels start getting way up too high, not a good thing. Then you have to back it down, and then you go to sunlight, you go to sun boxes and so forth, which is the most efficient way of getting your vitamin D. Bruce, does that help you?
Yes, Doctor. Is that an indication of other issues if the calcium? And so, like I say, if the calcium is right above if it's on the high of normal, a little over, that's a good trade-off to get to the D to the 60.
Yeah, I would if the vitamin D levels is at high end of normal, but it's still within the normal range, I wouldn't get too excited about it. But if it starts jacking up real high, I start thinking about parathyroid problems, and that's where we really have to to look to see what's happening. Bruce, I'm sorry I've got to take a break, but you can get a hold of me online at rosellecare.com. Write me a note and we can have this discussion again, and I'll try to remember to bring up the subject the next time we're on the air. It's a happy Father's Day to all of you. We're here in studio every Sunday trying to bring you the most up-to-date information on integrative healthcare, from chiropractic to acupuncture to nutrition. This is Dr. Tom Roselle. You're listening to Dr. Tom Roselle Live. Health is a do-it-yourself program. That's reality and the title of my new book. This is Dr. Tom Roselle. Health is a do-it-yourself program is a most understandable introduction to natural health care. My book will take you step by step through why the body breaks down and gets sick, but also how it repairs itself. You will finally understand the often confusing world of natural care. Order it today by going to Amazon.com or from our website, rosellecare.com. That's rosellecare.com. Hi, this is Dr. Tom Roselle. If you're looking for a wellness and healthcare environment to showcase your business, products, and services, consider being a wellness partner of Dr. Tom Rosell Live and the Rosell Center for Healing. From in-show advertising to on-site events and digital marketing, we have several offerings that can highlight your business with a well-received and established audience. For more information, visit WMAL.com, keyword Rosell, that's ROSELLE, and click on Become a Sponsor.
Did you know that routine mammograms can increase radiation exposure to breast tissue 1,000 times over a chest X-ray? Now consider a simple, non-invasive, and totally safe medical procedure approved by the FDA since 1982 that can detect breast cancer 5 to 8 years before it can be visualized on a mammogram. Infrared thermographic imaging can accurately detect the initial signs of breast cancer as increased blood supply and metabolic rate, which is recorded as heat. Why expose yourself to radiation when accurate and safe medical detection is available? Call the Thermography Center of Fairfax to schedule a breast exam today at 703-948-7248. That's 703-943-7248. For more information, visit www.thermographyscan.net. That's thermographyscan.net for the Thermography Center of Fairfax.
The Rosell Center for Healing is a proud supporter of breast cancer awareness and reminds you to conduct a monthly breast self-examination and a thermographic breast scan as part of your annual wellness checkup.